I'm finally painting Star Wars Shatterpoint. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good day. I'm Rob the Easterling, and we're going to start painting Star Wars Shatterpoint by Atomic Mass Games. And we're going to be starting off with the, what I called, the Chosen One squad. That will include Anakin Skywalker, the 501st, and Captain Rex. Anyway, so this video is going to contain all of these miniatures in one. Feel free to skip ahead to the one you want to watch, back and forth if you want. Don't forget to share this video with people you know play Shatterpoint and want to get into miniature painting. Let's get to the table and start painting. Alright, so let's get started off with the 501st, who are primed with a matte white primer. This is going to make my job a lot easier because these guys do have white armor. And you know, in the past, we used Blinding Light, Ashen Stone, and Holy White on some stormtroopers to see what we could get from white speed paints kind of thing, and see which one gives the best armor. I frankly liked Blinding Lights the most. If you haven't seen that video, I'll make it pop up right now, and you can go take a look at that one. And I used some stormtroopers from Imperial Assault. Now we're actually painting some Shatterpoint. Yes, I love this tabletop miniatures game. I know I've said that in the past by other games, but this one is easy, fun, quick to learn. Okay, yes, the miniatures are expensive, but they're beautiful sculpts. It's Atomic Mass Games that does this. If you haven't looked into it, I'll put the link to the Star Wars Shatterpoint information site from Atomic Mass Games in the description, so go take a look at that. As you can see, we're just doing all like the inner parts of the armor here with some grim black. It's going to be super quick paint jobs on these ones, which is great because I'm trying to get this actually finished as quickly as possible. However, some of them I'm going to take my time on and do a little bit more details. These ones are, you know, it's just plain white armor and stuff. Some of the more complicated figures, I'm going to take a look and see what I can do more with them and try and get them all. I will be doing them squad by squad, not miniature by miniature. So if you're looking at a specific miniature, you can just cut through. I'll put the timestamps also in the description, so you can just click on the one you want to see and go see how I paint that one. You can also just watch through the whole video. And if you're liking Shatterpoint and you're not following this channel, hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be going through and painting. I'd like to get through all of them. Now, I don't have the funds for every single one of these packs out there, but I've got a lot already. I've got the core game and a bunch of expansions. I'm missing a few, but anyways, you guys can always send me a gift if you want. The link is also in the description. I can make it pop up here if you want. But as you can see now, so we're just going to talk about the painting here process as well. So I'm using some tidal waves because these guys have the blue armor. Now, the speed paint was not necessarily the way to go here, and this is how I'm learning my lesson. So the next clones I'm going to be doing for their designs and their armor coloring, I am not going to be using speed paints, because the speed paints are nice when you're trying to do quick paint over jobs over large areas and not trying to get detailed finish work like this, because you're just trying to get the areas that are supposed to be blue, and sometimes it leaks over. I did pretty good because I didn't blotch it on too much, and I did go over with a second layer just to make sure it was the, you know, nice shiny blue like they have. But I will do another technique on the next clones. I'm also not going to show you the bases every single time I do them, because what I'm doing now is just simply putting on some occultist cloak and some sand golem. Eventually what I want to do is take them off of these bases and make actual diorama bases with all of them, but I just got to figure out a theme. I don't know if I want to go with each one. We're moving on now to Captain Rex, who was also given a matte white primer. Why? Because he's a clone trooper. They're all in white armor. However, this time I actually forgot to put the blinding light on first, and I ended up going with the blue first. Problem with that? Not really, just that I have to be careful when I put the blinding light on next, not to hit any of this blue stuff. It doesn't make much of a difference. And the magic blue had a little bit different blue because Rex is the leader, right? He's like the commander of the 501st, so he's going to get a little bit different coloration on his blue armor and pauldron here. Again though, it's very simple miniatures to paint, not hard at all. I'm even working on some other ones at the moment, and their paint jobs, I'm trying to replicate what is on Atomic Mass's website. Like their product gallery, they have images of the miniatures that are painted up and all that. So I'm trying to follow as much as possible that stuff as well. I'm also following what's on like the card in the background, doing what I can. So this is where I'm using that blinding light now, just going over the places where I know it's going to be white armor, because his I guess tunic or whatever, the drapes or whatever, or the robes he's wearing here are not going to be part of the white armor, so I don't have to hit those with the blinding light. So there's another advantage of having done the blue. Made me realize, oh yeah, I don't have to do everywhere with the blinding light. We're doing his skin with warrior skin, as you remember. Well, from the Clone Wars, I think they were a little bit paler, but in the second movie, Attack of the Clones, Jango Fett and all the clones have a little bit darker skin, and that's what I wanted. But he has blonde hair in the artwork, so I gave him some blonde hair. I don't know if it's a great idea, but anyways. And using some Gravelord Gray now on some of the other parts now. And I actually forgot to do his whole pauldron there. I noticed it after, so I do finish that off there. And you want to do this skirt that he's wearing as well. And another thing that I noticed with the skirt is at the end, when I was checking out the artwork again, there was like a little blue trim on it. So I just took a very, very light blue from my paint and just went around quickly at the end. So you won't see me doing that, but it's just something you might want to do, is just add that little blue trim. And as what you can see with the Gravelord Gray, it's actually leaving that raised edge on the edge of his skirt there to actually highlight with the blue. So it was actually perfect. Now I don't know if I did the blue line down his arm perfectly or not, on his left arm there. I might have went too far with the glove and all that, but still. Grim Black, now again we're doing all like the little details of the armor again of the clone troopers, going in all the little nooks and crannies here. There was one technique I wanted to try, and I don't know if I'm going to, because I got what, two other squads of clones to do. I've got the 512 and another one, I don't remember the name of them. And I was thinking of doing where I dip them in a wash so that all the dark recesses stay dark. They're going to really get that. And then repaint the white with a white again, just to make those areas where all the nooks and crannies are really pop and really get the shadow effect, or really get like all the little stitches here and there of the armor, like the clothing part of the armor, right? So I'm gonna try it. I hope it turns out okay, and I hope I don't mess up the miniature. If I do, well, worst case, I reprime them in white and start over again. Not the end of the world, especially if I use an airbrush. It doesn't get rid of all the details. So there you have it now. Captain Rex is painted and ready for the table as well. We're moving on now to General Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, but he's primed in a fur brown primer. So we used Army Painter's spray can, went a little too close at the beginning, and I hit his face, and I ended up like muting all his details. So I rubbed it off and right away, because it was still pretty wet, and it just went further away. I don't know what happened. The can, I guess, just came out blotchy at the beginning. I did do a test spray first, and it was okay, but it's just like when it came out again the second time, it just poof. And what we're doing now is we're preparing his lightsaber for that beautiful blue glow later on. And I'm not doing some OSL on it. I'm just going to make his lightsaber a little bit more vibrant with some fluorescent air paint. So that's going to really work here. But I am using some air paint colors right now called Trader Red. How is that, you know, fitting for this character? When I saw it on my shelf here, Trader, I was like, oh, I got to use this. And he's got a lot of browns and like lighter browns, darker browns. This was a reddish brown, and the air paint, which is good, is that it's so thinned out that as you're using it, it kind of works more like a wash and a speed paint almost than an actual paint. So I'm putting it on one layer only, covering up these areas that are supposed to be this brown, this reddish brown leather, and I find it's doing a great job. Plus it's kind of doing highlights at the same time where the creases are. It kind of makes that fur brown pop out again and have just a lighting effect, which is really cool. Saves you a lot of time as well. Air paints can do that for you. I've never tried them directly. Oh yeah, I have painted them directly on a primer, but I was hoping they were going to work well, because sometimes I find they're too liquidy, too watered down, too thin, and it just makes a mess of things. But this one really came out nicely. You could put a second coat if you want once it's really dry, but I found just having this one coat was perfect for Anakin's robes and boots and stuff like that. So there you go. And then we're moving on. We got Amber Skin now. This is one of their skin tones from the Army Painter, and I still can't find a JPEG or PNG image from Army Painter for this. So I'm doing his face with this color. It's got very pale coloring here, but we will wash it later on with a shade and get it looking even more realistic. This is just to do a base coat on it, but again, thin it down with water on your brush. Make sure your brush is wet. You know, flap it around on your wet palette a bit and just get a nice coat on there. And if you have to go over it with a second coat, again, even thinner, just to make sure you get all the nice coverage and not get rid of the details. We're using now leather brown. This has a little bit more of a vibrant brown color to it. It's actually lighter than the fur brown. May not show much on the camera here, but it is, and it's just different. And you can see it when it's next to the other parts of the brown. It does have its own tint to it. So because he's got so many brown areas, but I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be brown or red or black or gray. But the gloves I will do in a darker color. You'll see that after. But we're making sure we get all the areas where we want with this leather brown here. I had actually forgot to do his belt, which I am now doing at this point here. And I noticed that it was a little too globulent. I don't know, too much paint at one point. So you just keep rubbing it until you get all of the paint mostly off. Like you wet your brush again and just go over it just to make sure you thin out your paint on your miniature a little bit as well, just to make it that the details don't get lost. Using some necromancer cloak now for his gloves. Now at this point, he was supposed to have his metal hand at this point that he got cut off by from Dooku, but they didn't really show it. I guess it's underneath the glove here, and it's his right hand, which is the one holding the lightsaber, and it doesn't look very mechanical to me. Like technically I could have maybe made it a silver color or a dark silver, but anyways. Monster brown now for his hair. Now this one I was a little disappointed because his hair is darker a bit, and this monster brown seemed like it was darker, and then it came out like a beige almost, a beigeish brown. So I'm like, uh oh, we're gonna have to shade that up. Speaking of shades, let's put a little bit of Reichland flesh shade. To be honest, it's still one of my favorite shades for flesh, okay? Compared to the other ones from Army Painter, I still love that one. And the Seraphim Sepia is really good for just because it's more watered down than some of the Army Painter ones. I could just put a medium in them, but I just find that this one goes on really well, and it's easier to just get on all the browns. I put on his hair too. I don't put it on the air paint. I just put it on whatever I painted with regular brown or that fur brown that was there as a primer. And that's another thing of using a primer that's going to save you time, okay? Because it was brown, I put other browns on top of it, it's like the coverage didn't have to be perfect because it gives highlights. And there's this beautiful fluorescent blue flux for that lightsaber. I might actually come back and put a second coat on top of it to see if it'll make it even more vibrant. Right now you see some of the white come through, which is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. And now I'm using some plate matte metal, silver metallics paint just to do the hilt of his lightsaber, as well as some of the buckles on their belt. And there you go, we're just going to go through them here quickly. The 501st, nicely painted job. I love how it turned out. I like them. I like how they look on the table, on the battlefield. I hope you're enjoying, or so far, this very first video of Shatterpoint. If you are new to the channel, again, like I said, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, okay? So you'll know when I put up new videos, especially if you're following for Shatterpoint. Go take a look at my other playlists. I think Anakin looks pretty awesome here on the turntable. We're going to get one last picture of all four. There was no squad name for these guys like the other boxes do, so that's why I called it the You Were the Chosen One. I want to thank you guys for watching, and may the paint be with you.